Hey fools, it's John Rosevear, and today we're going to talk about Ford and an ongoing project at Ford that is something of a puzzle to some of us who watch the company closely and generally think that they make more good moves than not. Late last year, Ford started its campaign to reposition its old Lincoln brand as the Lincoln Motor Company, and they promised a whole bunch of new models and a rollout in China and so forth. This wasn't exactly a surprise. Luxury cars are hot right now, and they're booming in China, and companies like VW, which have thriving luxury brands, Audi, are making huge profits from them around the world. So over the last couple of years, a lot of the global automakers have been sort of hustling to shine up their luxury brands and give them a boost. GM has been working on an elaborate and expensive plan to elevate Cadillac for a while. Nissan is investing big in Infiniti, new factories in China, a bunch of new models and so forth. Toyota is trying to do more with Lexus. Lexus does well in the US, but doesn't do much of anything anywhere else. They want to change that and sort of build the brand globally and so forth and so on and so on. So it's not at all a surprise that Ford wants to go down that path. They want to elevate Lincoln's global sales and sort of the status of its brand and so forth. But what has been a surprise is the way they're going about it, especially in contrast to what GM is doing with Cadillac. GM's investing in a whole bunch of all new models. There are new platforms that are featured for Cadillac. Last year's ATS and the new CTS are on the new Alpha platform. This is a rear-wheel drive platform that was engineered specifically to compete with the likes of BMW. They've got a big sedan coming on an all-new big platform, rear-wheel drive platform, maybe a big coupe like the Cadillac El Mirage show car they showed last week. Plus there's an all-new Escalade that's said to have GM's nicest ever interior coming out soon. They're going to show it, I think, in October and be at dealers in the spring. There may be other SUVs for Cadillac as well. I mean, there's a big investment going on here and a big program. Meanwhile, the all-new Lincoln Motor Company released its first car under that name earlier this year. That was the MKZ sedan. This is based on the Ford Fusion's underpinnings, built on the same assembly line and so forth, and it's done pretty well for Lincoln, especially the hybrid version, which has greatly exceeded Ford's sales expectations. But unlike Cadillac sedans, which are unique in GM's global lineup on this special rear-wheel drive platform and so forth, the MKZ is clearly based on the Fusion and has some similarities, even though they've done a good job, better job than they had done in the past of differentiating it from the Ford in terms of styling and interior trim and sheet metal and so forth. So now next up will be the MKC. I love these alphabet soup names. GM does the same with Cadillac. There's no more Eldorados and Fleetwoods or anything. And this is just like the Germans and Infiniti and Lexus too. I guess it's so they can use the same model names in different languages all around the world. But anyway, the MKC is part two of this Lincoln Motor Company reinvention. It's a compact luxury SUV that will share a platform and some underpinnings with the Ford Escape. And so that gives you an idea of its size and sort of general configuration. Luxury SUVs are super hot right now in China and selling well in lots of places. BMW's X3 and X5, Audi's Q3 and Q5, even Porsche, their Cayenne SUVs accounts for something like half of their global sales. This is a big honking expensive SUV. Acura just stepped into this fray with a redesigned version of their RDX, which is a crossover SUV, kind of midsize, and now Lincoln's MKC, which will be at dealers next spring. Next up after that will be a big SUV, the Lincoln Navigator. Remember the Lincoln Navigator? It still exists, and it's going to get its first overhaul in years. That's going to come next fall. So it'll be interesting to see how well they establish Lincoln really as a separate brand rather than, deluxe Fords with nicer leather as they were kind of branded for years. With this effort that they're making where the models are so clearly based on parallel Ford models. The parallel Ford models are of course very good, cars like the Fusion and the Escape and so forth, but it will be interesting to see how well they differentiate it, how well they make them premium, how well they offer a premium experience, and whether they get credibility as a serious luxury brand, or whether it's sort of Ford's equivalent of Buick or something like that. We'll see how this plays out. Thanks for listening, keep an eye on it, and fool on.